Hey Covalence friends, I come to you in a little bit of a situation here. I'm in the middle of dinner roulette, or whatever you'd like to call it, where you may have wanted to go out with friends or family or a significant other, and you didn't know where you wanted to eat, which is kind of, a frustrating situation. Now, unfortunately for me, it was my wife's turn last time to choose, and it has now fallen upon me, and I don't know. So instead of just maybe picking a restaurant at random, I'm going to do what every programmer loves doing, which is spending way more time automating a solution than it would take to just like manually do it. But I did want a little twist here. I don't want to choose a purely random restaurant. What I want to do is have some like sliders, some type of weight that lets us kind of adjust everything on the fly. And that lets us put a higher precedence maybe towards one restaurant and allows us to maybe eliminate another altogether. So we'll see. But for this app, I'm going to be building it utilizing Vite. I haven't used Vite too much, but with the React team putting their beta docs finally into production 2 weeks ago or so, they have now completely eschewed the utilization of Create React App. And they have a few other suggested React application starters, one of which is Vite. And Vite is actually like framework agnostic. It doesn't have to be a React project. You can use it with like Vue, or you can even just like use a vanilla JS project. But it's really awesome because it's really, really fast with its dev tools, especially if you use the SWC template. And that's what we're going to use, with a little TypeScript, of course, thrown in the mix. So we're going to run npm create. Let me expand my terminal so you can see a little better. Vite at latest, and that brings up their little creation prompt here. Spell that right? I think so. And we're going to make this a React project. And we're going to make it TypeScript with SWC. Cool. Now, one thing I did, whoops, I meant to hit npm install. There we go. One thing I did do earlier is I did compile this little JSON file of some local restaurants that we like, that I've given kind of a starter middle value weight of. And so we'll be using this data to start everything here. So I'll go ahead and cut that in. And I mean, Vite, it's just kind of another React bootstrapping application. There's nothing like super like proprietary to it, I guess, but the dev tools themselves are really fast, so I am a big fan thus far. That being said, I will go ahead and remove a large swath of the code. However, I'm just going to leave their default like app styling in place. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and create some state for holding all of the restaurant names and their weights. So we're seeding every one of these restaurants with a weight of 0.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of like range inputs so we can slide from 0 to 1. And we can make it like as adjustable as like maybe 5/100ths. So we have like 20 steps between 0 and 1. Or maybe we could do it in like tenths. We'll kind of play around with it and see how smooth it feels. So let's go ahead and at least get those inputs divvied out. setting up some unique keys here. And for every little div for each restaurant, I'm going to create a label. Representing each restaurant's name. And then we'll create an input with of the type range. And so let's go ahead and get that created here. Cool. What we'll do as well is we'll give it a maximum value. And I think that value, yep, that attribute is just called max. So we'll set that to 1. We'll give its value, we'll tie that to the restaurant weight itself. And then we can set our steps to be we'll try 5/100ths. Yeah, so we'll have 20 steps. That should feel kind of like nice and fluid and give us some good like granular flexibility. Okay. So as of right now, we're not going to be like altering any state whatsoever. Its initial value is set that way, but we have some uncontrolled actions going. But I do want to at least see this and see how it appears. Not too bad. So yeah, like right now I can't do anything. Its value is just hard-coded. We have no change events. So let's go ahead and make a function that allows us to adjust everything. Let's see. Each one of these inputs, I'm also going to give it a name attribute of the restaurant. All right. And handle adjust weights, this is a function that we're going to be using as the onChange handler for these inputs. So we need to type our event here as a React change event on HTML input elements. All right, and let's see. What we need to do is we'll take a temporary copy of restaurants. And what we'll do is we'll find the index of, I guess we could pass the index position of the restaurants here. But for safety's sake, I'd rather just use the find index. Okay. So we'll want to know the index position in our array of restaurants. We just want to know like where the restaurant is that corresponds with the input we're currently, sliding around with. So we're trying to find where the restaurant name equals the event.target.name, this attribute here. So that lets us know where that's getting adjusted. And then here, we can mutate that individual element itself. So temp at index, that represents the element itself. We can just adjust its weight property. And what's the weight property that we need to adjust? Well, this whole event is a change event on the input element. That's the event target's value. So, and with it being a range, it's still going to be coming back as a string value. And so you either would want to parse e.target.value as an int, or since we do have numerical values here, we can actually use e.target.value as number, and that does the parsing for us. And so we just mutate that one individual restaurant, and we'll set all of that back to the restaurant state. So now that we've got that done, I can go ahead and attach the onChange. to handle just weights. And just to kind of see it in action, we can do something that I always do as like a super lazy, quick and dirty way of validating results without having to open up your component dev tools. You can just JSON stringify a large swath of data and just see how it changes. The React dev tools tend to be a little more sluggish, especially if you have like a lot of granular steps. So if I want to just adjust something on the fly, React itself is going to be able to conditionally re-render a whole lot faster than the React dev tools can react to those changes. So it's kind of a goofy little thing, but I tend to do that a lot. But here we can see we can now kind of toy around with each individual restaurant's weights here. And now in order to calculate kind of a weighted average, what I want to do is, and this is kind of cheesy, there are a ton of different ways you can programmatically calculate weighted averages, but we could just create a very large array, and within that array, for every element we have, we place X amount of that element times 20 times its weight into that larger array. So if we had all of these at 1, we'd have a maximum of 20 in for the size of that like mega array. But that is the super, super quick and dirty and easy way of doing some kind of averaged weighting. So let's go ahead and define a function that can handle that. So I'll create this array here called all choices, and we're going to map over restaurants itself. And for every restaurant we have, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to return an array within it. And so we're going to have an array of many arrays. So we'll need to ultimately flatten this array. But what we'll do for each is just say return a new array of length, the weight times 20. And 20 is just something I kind of arbitrarily chose. What we want to do, let's see, what I want to do is round this here. I just kind of arbitrarily chose 20 just because I did stuff in steps of 0.5, so like that rounds to nice even whole numbers here. And then all choices is basically going to be, whoops, an array of, I need to say what we're filling this array with, because otherwise it would just be empty placeholders in the array. So we're just going to have the name of the restaurant itself over and over and over again. And what we could do is, let me resize some stuff a little bit. Let me shrink it down so we can see more. What we will do here is const random choice. Use math.random to calculate a random element from the all choices array. And let's set that to state, and instead of just like dumping all of the data here, let's make something a little more presentable. So we have this empty string piece of state choice, and let's make a button element here. And let's see. If choice is an empty string, that means we haven't assigned a random choice yet. And so we'll do some conditional rendering of the button text here. Say if there hasn't been a choice yet. We'll return get a random choice. And if we do have a choice selected, what we'll do is we'll return the span inside the button, and we'll place the choice, aka the restaurant name, in a all bold text. And we'll add the text like choose again to the button in case maybe you were like, whatever, let's re-roll. So if choice is still not defined yet, the button says get a random choice, but in the event we do have a choice, it's going to display it there. Now we'll need to actually set choice here in this function. And we will also need to attach calculate random choice to this button itself. And let's see how this plays out. All right. So if I click this, it's all going to be evenly distributed odds. So everything's going to be kind of all over the place. However, let's say I wanted some hot chicken. We can slide. Let's see. We can slide pretty much everything that doesn't do hot chicken down. And these are like Nashville hot chicken. These have some like spicy chicken dishes, but we're going to be heavily slanted towards these two. And I'll click a bunch, and we'll occasionally get Paramount or Hotbox popping up. But hey, that allows me to now like programmatically say, maybe we kind of feel this way. Maybe we wouldn't be upset, but it's not exactly our first choice if we got that. But yeah, that's how we can programmatically calculate some weights and get a random restaurant. So I'm about to deploy this to production where we can actually use it. Wish me luck, and I'll let you guys know in the comments what we actually ended up doing for dinner.